Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from Conservative Review written by Daniel Horowitz that was published on May 9th. Now, I love this. The left keeps, and the Democrats and the legacy media, just the left in general. It doesn't matter if they're leftists, Democrats, in politics or otherwise. In the legacy media, they're going, oh, there's no crisis at the border. There's no problem there. People don't need to see something. They don't need to see anything over there because there's nothing to see. And yet, according to the actual facts, April was another record month for illegal immigration. We shouldn't even be calling it immigration because it isn't immigration, because to immigrate, you have to go to a country legally. Anyway. The problem with waiting months to act decisively at the border is that we become accustomed to the new normal of record border numbers, which is the intent of why the Democrats are dragging this shit out. That's why they keep dragging their feet. That's why they keep fighting it, because they just want it to become the norm. Because if you keep, it's like poison. You keep getting doses of it. Okay, small doses. You can slowly increase the doses. You start building an immunity, and it gets to a point where you can actually take a lot of it. And that's their intent. According to Customs and Border Protection, April set yet another record with a total of 109,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. 109,000 of them in 1 month. There's no problem at the border, but they're apprehending 109,000 people. Give me a break. No problem. Unless the administration harnesses this news and calls for a complete shutoff of immigration processing at the border, it is unlikely that the numbers will fall significantly, which is true, because guess why? These people go, oh, well, we can just go and they're going to let us in, and then they're going to, they're going to catch and release us because that's what they were doing before, and if we keep and because we push the limits now, they're back doing it, and we can just get in. That's what's going to happen. You need to stop the illegal immigration by controlling the border first. If you've got to say, hey, we're locking down the border until we can get this under control, that's going to happen. It has to happen. I mean, you can't, without stopping the problem, stopping the influx long enough to solve the problem or work out a way to deal with the problem better than what we are. It's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. The partial measures being pursued currently might have worked a year ago when we warned about the tsunami, but now that we are squarely, not now that we are squarely in the storm, which is true. We're fucked unless we take serious measures. Here are the key takeaways from the April CBP border report. In total, 109,144 individuals were apprehended at the border, 98,977 between points of entry, and 10,167 at points of entry. Let that sink in. Basically, over 90%, well over 90%, are trying to get across the border illegally. They're not trying to go through the process. They're not trying to ask for legal entry. They just don't give a shit. And they know that they can go to a sanctuary city and collect free shit. So why bother coming in legally when they can just go and get licenses and everything else and go do what they want to do? This is the highest number in 12 years. It is very likely the highest number of unique individuals of all time, given that many in the past were the same individuals deported multiple times within the same week, while almost all of these are first-timers. That's another thing to point out. See, they leave that out when they talk about this. Well, most do. Obviously, Conservative Review didn't. But they leave out the fact that up until recently, most of the people coming across the border were repeat offenders, were people that we kicked the fuck out and said, go home, you're not welcome here. And they just showed back up at our doorstep and tried to cross illegally again. Now it's all first timers because it's like, hey, the land of honey. We go to the United States, Status United. Yeah. We go get free shit, eh? I mean, come on now. And that's what the plan is. These people aren't coming here in a lot of cases. And what's funny is they go, they're mostly women and children. They're families. No. They put the women and children out there as human shields in the front of their groups. And they're mostly single men. The legacy media had to report on this. And they got pissed when the reporter even said this. And I wish I could remember. Was it MSNBC, CNN? Or was it one of the local stations? But they had a reporter at the border, and he let it slip, and they were like, oh, women and children, like after the fact. It was so funny. They tried to push the narrative when the guy was like, I hate to break it to you, but they're mostly single men. And it was with the first caravan. Oh, God, it's ridiculous. So anyway, the 58,474 individuals in family units are set record, but an increasing number of people are also coming as single adults, 31,606. The overwhelming number of single adults are from Mexico, while most of the family units and unaccompanied teens are from Central America. Or supposed family units, because, you got to prove their parentage or their family lineage, because a lot of these cases you actually have been seeing people smuggling children across to use them to get across the border and most likely sell them into sexual slavery or some other shit, slavery, or they're just going to kill them once they get through the bullshit checking of their thing to send them through because, it's my kid. If they actually cared about the kids, then they wouldn't have a problem with the children being separated long enough to determine through, like, say, DNA testing that the person that's claiming to be their parent is actually their parent. Heaven forbid, you actually do that. The increases over the previous month seem to be from the Rio Grande Valley, El Paso, and Yuma sectors, the three busiest corridors in absolute numbers. Overall, for this fiscal year, every sector has been a massive increase in family units. And now I've mentioned my friend from who's from Guatemala before, and he says there's work there. His uncle lives there. He talks to his uncle regularly. And his uncle's like, I don't get it. There's work here. They just don't want to work for the money there is when they can go to the United States and collect free stuff. His uncle says this. He even says this. You've got Guatemalans saying this shit about their own people. And it's fucking hilarious that we're going, they're coming here for a better life because they there's no work and they need to support their families. And there's plenty of work down there. It's just they don't want to work for the wages that they have to work and do the actual amount of work that they can when they can come to the United States, collect free shit, and get an Xbox or a PlayStation and sit on their ass all day. It's ridiculous. I mean, if they came here legally, I got no problems with that. Because they can't collect free shit. They actually have to go get a job, and they actually have to earn an income for their family. They come here illegally, they just collect free shit. That's how it works. Because these sanctuary cities have done everything to cater to them so that they will go there. And the reason why these sanctuary cities are doing this in part is so that they can increase their numbers for the census so that they can get more representation in the House on a state level. All right, because most of these are blue state shitholes. Well, this is, California's got a lot of red in it, but it's still, for all intents and purposes, because of LA and San Francisco and some other areas that are densely populated, blue shitholes. And what they're doing is they're fluffing their numbers. They're padding them, I should say. Fluffing's a different thing. But anyway, so Guatemala still leads the pack for the most migrants coming in all categories, followed by Honduras, with a sharp drop-off for Salvadorans. Overall, 301,900 Guatemalans were apprehended at and between points of entry since the beginning of the fiscal year 2018. In other words, in just 19 months, 1.7% of Guatemala's population came to our border, and that is on top of the 815,000 Guatemalan nationals who already lived here, most of them illegally. Yes. Except I know one who's legal. And he's planning on having his citizenship taken care of before 2020 because, as he put it, I'm voting for Trump. I know that's more Mexican, but hey, you get the point. He's a Trump supporter. He's a diehard Trump supporter. It's funny too. Like, not like haha. Like, it's funny because like if you took him, could make him accent neutral, you could literally make him into like the Dave Chappelle KKK dude, and they would be going, "Oh, there's some white dude under the robe," and then you could take it off and be like, "No, Guatemalan, speaking about his own. Now shut the fuck up." Oh God. A recent poll showed that a third of Guatemalans would like to immigrate to the U.S. A total of 224,078 Hondurans have come since the fiscal year 2018. 2.4% of the population. Yes, we're literally taking large chunks of their population. We shouldn't have to. Oh my God. It's ridiculous. That is on top of the 623,000 already here. This means that the size of these countries' populations in America equal roughly 6.6% and 9.2% of their respective populations in Guatemala and Honduras. Only 79,000 have come from El Salvador over the past 19 months, but because they dominated the Central American migration in previous years, we already had 1.4 million Salvadorians in this country as of last year, representing 22% of the entire homeland population. That's a lot of people. So we're expected to just take these people in and pay for them because they want to come here, because they don't like the conditions of their country, that they don't want to make an effort to straighten the problems out in. So it's our responsibility to take care of their sorry asses, because they realize they can come here, because you get the left and the Democrats going, "Oh, go to a sanctuary city, get a driver's license, collect, get schooling for your kids and free health care and, Section 8 housing. And, we'll, through state programs, give you free, the equivalent of food stamps and shit. Oh, collect WIC. You got kids, collect WIC, because they can collect WIC and shit." I mean, it's ridiculous. Has the trajectory been bent? Will the numbers go down in May? Well, CBP reported on Tuesday that during the first week in May, there were 10,000 apprehensions in the Rio Grande Valley, a new weekly record. During the 30 days of April, there were 36,681 apprehensions in the RGV. It is therefore clear that the message has not yet gone out to Central America that we are no longer tolerating this violation of our sovereignty. Even if the message went out that we were not going to put up with it, you saw when Trump said, "Oh, yeah, we're not going to do this." The numbers went down, and then they went, "Oh, well, fuck you. We're going to overrun your border with a shit ton of people," which was the caravans, "and you're just going to have to watch us just stroll right in," demanding that they should be able to come here. Like it's a right to come to the United States. It's a fucking privilege. But these people want to treat it like it's their right. Unlike in the past, when mainly single adults were coming over and were immediately repatriated, most of these individuals are being released. ICE, they used to literally catch them and send them home, not catch them and release them. But because we got to keep the left happy, we're in blatant violation of how the law is written, saying we can just deport their asses the second they're caught. We're actually giving them a chance to fucking bilk the system. It's disgusting. ICE has released 168,000 since December 21st, and that number doesn't include the 33,000 released by CPB. Yeah, so you've got over 200,000 that were released. Just, see ya. Hope we get you to come back to court. It's disgusting. If these individuals are never repatriated, the lifetime cost to taxpayers, as estimated by the Center for Immigration Studies, would be roughly $30 billion, which is more than the cost of a fucking wall. $30 billion would get the whole fucking wall. And then some. I mean, hell, you could build the wall, have machine gun towers on it. You could put electrified sections on it, and you'd still have money to spare. You could throw a shit ton of money at that wall, and you'd still have money to spare. You could build an actual fucking wall with that $30 billion. Yet they're supposed to be a net positive. This is part of the crisis This is part of the crisis that is never discussed. The philosophical problem with the approach of our government over the past year is that when circumstances such as a lack of detention space create a scenario where our laws cannot be implemented properly, they are on the side of the alien and not on the side of the American people. Yes, exactly. And that's a smack in the face to every American, because they're treating people who are not American citizens better and above the law in comparison to American citizens, because they're saying, well, even though the law says this, we're going to let you come in. Whereas if an American violates the law, unless you're like, say, a Clinton or some other powerful person that doesn't have, the ability, and there's that rare case, where some of them can't protect themselves from their shit, but, in general, they can. They're above the law. They want to treat illegals like they're higher standing than Americans at this point, because heaven forbid, we actually follow the law as written and just deport their asses. Our laws require that every alien, including those seeking asylum and even those approved for it, be detained throughout the entire process. Yes, required. Moreover, our laws require that these economic migrants be immediately placed into expedited removal. Yes, written in the law. Like, not exactly that way, but yes. Any appeal of credible fear denial must be handled within a day and no later than 7 days according to existing law. Yes, exactly. Why should the fact that they flood us with invasion levels of migrants strengthen their hands to achieve the very intent of their mission? Exactly. Well said. Just because they're flooding the border saying, well, fuck you, we're coming in, we shouldn't allow them to basically disrespect us and, fucking, disrespect this country and expect to just be able to come in and do what the fuck they want. Why should the fact that they increase the illegal smuggling to levels that can't be detained result in rewarding the cartels with catch and release and making Americans pay for the crime, gangs, drugs, lack of security checkpoints, fiscal cost, cultural problems in schools, and the health risks? Exactly. We shouldn't have to put up with that. But see, that's never addressed, because if you address that, you're a racist. You're a big, bad racist. You're an evil, Trump-supporting racist if you talk about that. Part of the problem is that the desire of the aliens are individualized and immediately apparent before the TV cameras. The harm they cause to Americans, both directly through fiscal, security, and health concerns, and indirectly by draining off resources and empowering the cartels and gangs, are long-term, less apparent, and often go unreported. Very true. Nobody sees a rapist right at the border, but there are sadly plenty of people like Juan Leon Gomez, an illegal alien from Guatemala, who is now charged with raping and impregnating an 11-year-old girl and keeping her in his closet. Yes, exactly. Their very best are not coming across the border like that, illegally. The TV camera shows 16-year-olds in need at the border, but they won't show how you 40% of those caught in a recent MS-13 sting were border teens who were resettled as refugees. Yeah, see, that's another thing. MS-13 recruits these teens. They use the teens to bilk the system and the sympathy to get them into the country, because their operatives then come in and they're just as cold-blooded, murderous bastards as the adult MS-13. Yet, because they're kids, we should feel bad. Give me a break. The entire purpose of our federal government is to care for Americans, not foreign invaders. Yes, exactly. All the money that's being spent on illegals, the Democrats want their free shit, they want their free programs. There would be more money available for their free programs and free shit if they didn't have all these illegals bilking the system. Go figure. The entire purpose of our federal government, besides that, okay, is to protect the nation from invaders, both, from enemies, both foreign and domestic. I don't see how they're not seeing them as enemies. I mean, I'm sorry to put it that way, but they are enemies, because they're coming here to weaken this country, to get everything they can from it, to bilk it, to milk it, To me, that makes them an enemy of it. They're not here to contribute to it, to help improve it, to, become part of it. So, yeah, that kind of makes him an enemy. No offense, but it does. Today, as the DHS announces the unprecedented data from April, would be the most auspicious time for the president to announce a complete shutoff of all cross-border migration of those who show up without documentation. Yeah, that would be a good thing. Saying, hey, if you don't have documentation, you ain't coming in. Fuck you. That's going to be a revolving door. Unless he acts now, the American people will become used to the cartels and illegal aliens pouring over our border as the new normal. Slight problem. No offense to, what's his name here? Daniel. But they've kind of been conditioned to it already at this point, all right? I mean, you literally have areas in Arizona that are no-go zones where they have signs up that tell you, don't go in there, don't go into these areas for your safety. I had a friend who travels with work. Him and, was one or more people that he works with that were on the trip, went out hiking in Arizona. They came across shallow graves. He took pictures of them, mind you. They were clearly graves. I mean, you could tell. And as they stumbled upon them, all of a sudden, not a minute or two later, along comes a pickup truck with a bunch of Hispanics in it, toting AKs, chasing them out of there. Yeah. Never watch a 40-something-year-old man. You want to see him run like he's back in his teens? Have some dudes show up with AKs, because, yeah, they took off like bats out of hell. And, yeah. That's the new norm. People are used to that. They just want the rest of us to get used to it. That's why, they'll, with all these illegals and, the rapes and the murders, they go, not all, but it's disproportionately to legal resident aliens and Americans, it's disproportionately high. So, yeah. But anyway, I mean, this is ridiculous that they try to play this shit down, and the facts don't lie. It's another record. Oh, no problem at the border. But anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.